Hello everybody. Today we're going to cook noodles in 1 minute, in 1 hour, and in 1 day. Our minute has started. During this time, you can manage, except that, to brew ready-made noodles. Open it up and add some spices. Pour in some boiling water. And after waiting a little bit, we have some ready noodles. Let's try it. These noodles don't taste delicious at all. Now we will cook noodles in 1 hour. We need some chicken eggs. We break off 5 pieces. Pour 200 grams of flour onto the table, and we catch only the yolks with our hands. Then we're gonna make a little funnel in the flour and fill it with our yolks. Here's a little bit of olive oil, salt, and we begin to knead, first with a fork, and then with our hands. The egg dough is ready. Wrap it in film and let it rest for 15 minutes. Then sprinkle some flour onto the table. We take out the rested dough and roll it out with a rolling pin. Once we have a large layer of dough, we begin to fold it. And cut it into strips. Now we just need to straighten out the noodles and just tossing with our fingers. And throw that on to cook. This is not dry pasta, so they cook way faster. Literally 2 minutes can be drained through a colander. Cut off the pulp from a red pepper. And cut it into small strips. Next, we have the carrot. We plate it out so we have such small layers. And then into small strips. Last up, we have chicken thighs. Cut them into pieces. Pour some oil into a frying pan. And we'll fry up our chicken first. With a little layer, we add our vegetables. Let's fry them for just a couple of minutes. And all right, next, we'll make a ketchup-based sauce. Use some hot sauce sriracha, teriyaki sauce, chili pepper, ground black pepper, and red. It remains to mix it well, and the sauce is ready. We send this into our wok. And now we add the egg noodles and mix it for the last time. Now let's remove it from the stove and transfer it into a bowl. And just like that, our 1 hour noodles are ready. Now we just need to dry them. Yeah, these noodles are 10 times tastier than the last ones. They're like sweet, sour, and spicy. Well, let's move on to the noodles that are going to take us a whole day to prepare. Especially for this, we prepared a parcel with Chinese products with a lot of interesting things inside of it. We open it up, and the first thing that we see are these black beans. We're going to make a special paste out of them. We open them and pour them into a bowl. Fill this with water and leave this in the form to soak for as long as 8 hours. The next thing from our Chinese box is sesame oil. We will fry everything on this, and it has an unusual flavor. Let's grate some ginger directly into the pan. Add a small hot pepper. Drain the remaining water from the black beans. And throw them into the frying pan as well. First, fry them a little bit. And then fill it with water. This also includes soy sauce, sugar, and vinegar. Cook the beans until they finally become soft. Then pour the contents of the frying pan into a blender. Grind it all into a paste. Done. Now pour the bean paste into a bowl. The next lot is this Chinese kansui powder. This is an alkali for the dough, which makes it very viscous. We open it and pour 30 grams into a bottle. Pour 70 milliliters of cold water in. We close the bottle and shake it so that it dissolves into the powder and water. We will also need Chinese flour with a high gluten content. We send 1 kilogram to the bowl. Pour half a liter of cold water in, and here we add half of our mixture with kansui powder, 20 grams of salt, and put this under the mixer. We're going to knead our dough for 30 minutes. Now wrap it up in film and throw it into the fridge for 2 hours. It's already rested. Pour some oil onto the table. We open up the dough. Put it on top of the oil. Flatten it out. Pour on the water with kansui powder for elasticity. And knead it. It feels like this dough is more like a huge gum. We're gonna turn this into like a sausage type thing. Stretch it out at the sides as if hitting the table. Then we twist it into a pigtail. Fold it twice more, and repeat the same action for another 10 minutes. Thanks to this, the dough will stretch even better. Then we cut it into smaller pieces. Cover it with a film and let it rest for 10 minutes. We take one piece, sprinkle it with Chinese flour, and roll it into a tube. Then we stretch it out. Fold it 2 times, stretch even harder, fold again, stretch, and repeat this several more times. And you're left with these really thick noodles. We're gonna put this on to cook. These types of noodles cook for literally 30 seconds. Now drain it into a colander. And now we go back. In order for the noodles not to stick together, we add some sesame oil. And mix. For the filling, cut an onion into large pieces. And a leek, we cut down the center. And we dice it. Next, we have bell mushrooms. Each mushroom is cut into 4 parts. Fresh ginger. First, we peel it with a spoon. We cut it first into thin slices. And then mega thin straws. Pork belly. We're going to cut it to the exact same principle. Done. We're also going to use shrimp and squid for these noodles, but first they need to be boiled. Literally 30 seconds, then we get them out. Done. Now we take our bean paste. You're also going to need some oyster sauce. Chicken bouillon cubes, monosodium glutamate, it is used all the time in Asia, sesame oil, and let's go out. We'll use a reactive oven like this to cook, but first we need to chop some firewood into small chips. So we open up the compartment for firewood, we ignite some dry fuel, and drop it in. You can throw in some shards of wood. This compartment can be closed, but the air vent on the contrary is open. The fire is lit, and you can pour some sesame oil into the wok. First, fry up the pork. Then our onions and leeks, and mix. Pour in some soy sauce. For flavor, ginger, mushrooms, and seafood. Fry all this on the Megasol fire. A little sugar, oyster sauce, granulated chicken bouillon, monosodium glutamate to enhance the taste, and a little bit of our bean paste. Now mix it up again. Fill this all up with water. Also, you need to dilute a little bit of starch in the water. And pour it into the wok too, so that the sauce becomes thicker. It's time to add the noodles. And finally, we cut the green onions. Transfer them into the wok. And mix it for final time. And with that, it's ready. Now it can be transferred into a bowl.
Hey there, everybody. Surely everyone knows what a Kinder Milk Slice is, right? Today, we decided to make one on a truly unimaginable scale. But first, let's open it up and see what it's made of. Here, we see 2 chocolate biscuits and a bunch of cream. It's obviously very tasty, but the cream is a little chemically. Let's go to the store. We decided to split the purchase up into 2 stages. Today, we're doing the first. We'll buy all the groceries we need to make huge biscuits. The first thing we need is chicken eggs, as many as 840 of them. The next thing we'll need is sugar. This will take up to 30 kilograms. 11 kilograms of cocoa powder. 2 kilograms of baking powder. 25 kilograms of flour. 13 liters of oil. With all this, we're headed to the checkout. First purchase cost us $245. Now we'll cook the biscuits in our huge oven. But we need to preheat it so it has time to warm up. Now we open up the boxes of eggs. We take out 2 trays and put them on the lower part of the table. We need 420 eggs for 1 batch. We put 2 containers on the table, one smaller, the other bigger. Now we take the eggs and separate the yolks from the whites. It took us about 1.5 hours to separate all the eggs. Done. We set the egg whites aside for now. We take the sugar, open it, and pour 15 kilograms into the yolks. Now, using a cement mixer, we beat the yolks into the sugar until the whole mixture turns white. Now we take 6 liters of oil, open it, and fill her up. If we use any less, our biscuit just won't hold its shape the way we need it to. Then we mix well. Ready for our next step. We need 5.5 kilograms of cocoa powder. We open it and pour it out. And now we mix. It takes another 20 minutes or so to mix it all up, and we're left with a very thick dough. Now, we need to carefully pour in 6.5 liters of boiling water. We'll mix this in so that the dough thins out a bit. Done. Now we need flour. We'll start by pouring in the first 5.5 kilograms. And mix it up. Then we'll add another 7.5 kilograms. Now we add in another kilogram of baking powder. And we get a nice, even dough. Our pot is filled to the brim, so we'll take a big wash basin and move our dough into it. Now let's take our egg whites and pour some of them into another saucepan. We tried beating them with our industrial mixer, but it didn't work out. I guess it's pretty impossible to beat that many egg whites into a dense mixture. So we decided to use a self-mixer that does everything itself. Let's pour a little bit of the egg whites into each of them. And turn it on. The process has started. After about 5 minutes, we get this foam. That means it's time to add sugar. We'll mix this for another 2 minutes, and then we can move these whipped egg whites into the chocolate dough. Now let's carefully mix it with a spatula so that none of the air bubbles come out of the whipped mixture. We're going to load in our next portion of egg whites. Move it back to the bowl and mix. As a result, you're going to have a really lush dough. With the second half already in the basin, we do the same thing. Now our biscuit dough is ready. But what do we bake it in? We got help from a friend in a workshop. They drafted up a drawing on a computer, which sends the blueprint to a huge machine that uses a laser to cut out the desired piece of sheet metal. We take our piece of metal from the machine and cut out the places for bends with a grinder. Now we bend the edges until we get a box shape formed. Then all the seams are welded together, and we're left with a giant baking sheet. Now we pour oil all over it and smear it around with a brush. We take out some parchment and cover the baking sheet with it. Thanks to the oil, our parchment will stick well to the sheet. So we cover the whole thing. Done. Now we pour out dough onto it and level it out. Done. We transfer the baking sheet into the oven and push it in. We'll bake this for 4 hours at 180 degrees. Then we turn off the oven and leave the biscuit in there until morning, so it has time to set and thicken. The next morning, we take it out. It's risen a little and completely baked. Now we need to make sure the tender part of the biscuit is at the top. We figured out the best way to do it is by applying plywood to the top and 2 planks to the sides. We'll fix these together tightly with clamps. We want to remove the baking sheet for now, so we put another piece of plywood on the table with 4 bricks on it and turn the whole thing over. We remove the clamps and gently lift off the baking sheet. We end up with a beautiful biscuit that weighs as much as 50 kilograms. And it only took 2 days to prepare it. We'll set it aside for now. Now we need to knead the dough for another identical biscuit. Load it all into the oven, close the doors, and the next morning we have another biscuit, just as beautiful as the first one. It's time to go pick up the groceries to make the cream. The first thing we need is a lot of condensed milk. 6 2-liter packages of milk, an unrealistic amount of Amish cheese, 80 kilograms. We'll need agar-agar. We took 200 packages. 2 kilograms of vanilla sugar. 3 5-liter jugs of water. We take all this to the checkout and bag it all up. Our second check came out to $506. We put the Amish cheese that we bought onto the table and opened them up. We had 80 kilograms of Amish cheese. All this needs to be ground up, and preferably quickly. We remove the front plate from the mixer and attach the meat grinder to it, and the saucer on top. We open another plate and attach the blender. We take a package of cheese, open it, and pour part of it into the blender and the other part into the meat grinder. We close the blender and put a saucepan below the grinder and turn on the mixer. While we are pushing the cheese through the meat grinder, the blender is taking care of everything on its own. The only help it needs is to periodically move out the cheese curds. We ground it all using 6 hands until the cheese runs out. 3 hours later, we have a whole pan of this cheesy mass. We take the tub of water and move the cheese mass into it. We open the vanilla sugar and pour it in. Now we just need the condensed milk. We open a bottle and pour the whole thing into the mixture. We made sure to buy extra, so there's a lot left. Now we use the industrial mixer to mix the cheese with the milk. We're left with a creamy mass. We take 3 jugs with water in a saucepan. Open the water and pour it out. Now we take agar-agar, open it, and pour all 200 packets into the water. For now, just mix the agar-agar and leave to soak for 30 minutes. We cut off part of the roll of industrial foil with a grinder and wrap it around the bottom biscuit in a circle. We fix all this together with tape. And to keep it all even tighter, we will also attach the boards on the sides with the same adhesive tape. It turned out to be such a good form for filling the cream that it doesn't spread. Put a saucepan with water and agar-agar on the stove. Boil for 2 minutes and pour in hot milk. Mix well. This liquid will make the cheesy mass harden, and that way it won't be crushed under the weight of the second biscuit. Pour half into one basin and mix well. Now the second half. While the filling has not started to thicken, we quickly transfer it to the biscuits. Level the filling and leave it to cool overnight. The next morning, the cream is hardened. We remove the foil framework. We had a very tall layer of cream turn out. Finally, the big moment. All that remains is to put the second biscuit on the cream. Done. We finally made a Kinder Milk slice. All it took was 6 days. After calculating the weight of the groceries we bought, we found out that our huge dessert weighs as much as 210 kilograms and costs $766. Let's cut off a piece. This is the type of huge chunk that we're going to ship off to all of our friends and relatives. Look at what a huge sponge cake turned out inside. I put the cream on a piece of sponge cake, covered it with a second one,